What would you do if someone confessed they couldn't afford a date? His response will restore your faith in humanity. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more real stories that remind us of the goodness in everyday people. Your support helps us share these moments that might otherwise go untold. The restaurant buzzed with evening chatter, crystal glasses clinking against the backdrop of soft piano music. Emma Walsh sat across from Michael Reeves, fidgeting with her napkin as the waiter placed leather-bound menus before them. Her stomach twisted, not from hunger but from the growing dread as her eyes scanned the prices. The chef's special tonight is the seared scallops with truffle risotto, the waiter announced with practiced elegance. Michael smiled warmly. That sounds perfect. What do you think, Emma? She swallowed hard, her throat suddenly dry. The past 3 months had been brutal, laid off from her accounting job, rent increasing, and her savings dwindling to almost nothing. This date, which had seemed like a wonderful distraction when Michael asked her out at the coffee shop where she now worked part-time, now felt like an impossible luxury. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the restaurant's ambient noise. I can't afford this date. The words burned with embarrassment as they left her lips. I should have said something before we came in, but I was too ashamed. Michael's expression shifted, not to disappointment or judgment as she feared, but to something softer, more understanding. He reached across the table, his hand gently covering hers. Let's get out of here, he said simply. Outside on the sidewalk, Emma couldn't meet his eyes. I'm really sorry for wasting your time. I should go home. Actually, Michael said, I know a place that might be more our speed tonight. If you're still up for hanging out? Curiosity overcame her embarrassment. Where? It's a surprise. Do you trust me? 20 minutes later, they were sitting on a park bench, paper-wrapped sandwiches from a local deli in hand, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks over the city lake. My daughter Lily loves this spot, Michael said, breaking the comfortable silence that had settled between them. She says it's where the sky comes down to kiss the water goodnight. Emma smiled, feeling the tension in her shoulders ease. How old is she? 7 going on 30, he laughed. Too smart for her own good sometimes. Or at least, too smart for her dad to keep up. As the evening air cooled around them, Michael shared how he'd become a single father 3 years ago when his wife died unexpectedly from an aneurysm. How he'd had to learn everything from braiding hair to baking birthday cakes, all while keeping his small carpentry business afloat. There were months when I had to choose between new shoes for Lily or paying the electric bill, he admitted. Pride doesn't keep the lights on or feed a growing kid. Emma found herself opening up about her own struggles, the layoff, the mounting bills, the fear of never regaining her financial footing. I took this barista job thinking it would be temporary, she confessed. But 3 months later, I'm still making lattes and wondering if I'll ever use my degree again. Michael nodded thoughtfully. You know what Lily asked me once? She said, Daddy, are we poor? And I told her, no, baby. We're just in between treasures right now. Emma laughed, wiping away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. I like that. In between treasures. As stars began appearing overhead, Michael suggested they walk along the lakefront path. Their conversation flowed easily now, punctuated by laughter and moments of shared understanding that felt rare and precious. When they reached a small playground, Michael's face lit up. Come on, he said, taking her hand and leading her to the swings. I haven't been on a swing since college, Emma protested weakly, but allowed herself to be guided to the seat. Then you're long overdue, Michael replied, giving her a gentle push. As she swung higher, the cool night air rushing past her face, Emma felt something she hadn't experienced in months, joy, pure and uncomplicated. She closed her eyes, letting herself be present in the moment, free from worry about tomorrow's problems. Later, as Michael walked her to her apartment door, Emma felt a pang of regret that the evening was ending. I had a wonderful time, she said sincerely. Better than any fancy restaurant. Michael smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Me too. And for what it's worth, Emma, I think you're incredibly brave. Brave? She questioned. It takes courage to be honest about where you are in life. Most people would have pretended, gone into debt, or just ghosted me instead of saying what you did tonight. He leaned in, kissing her cheek softly. I'd like to see you again. Maybe you could meet Lily? She's been asking why Daddy's smiling so much lately. 2 years later, Emma stood in the same park where they'd shared sandwiches on their first real date. Michael knelt before her, Lily bouncing excitedly at his side, holding a small velvet box. You showed me that night that the most valuable things in life aren't on any menu, he said, voice thick with emotion. You taught me that honesty, even when it's difficult, is the foundation of something real. Emma's vision blurred with tears as he continued. We've been through so much since then, your new job, my business expanding, creating this little family together. But I'll never forget how it started, with you being brave enough to whisper those words across a table. He opened the box, revealing a simple but elegant ring. Emma Walsh, will you marry us? Lily giggled, adding, please say yes. I already told my teacher you're going to be my mom. Through her tears, Emma nodded, pulling both of them into her arms. Yes, she whispered. 1,000 times, yes. Their wedding was held the following spring, not in an expensive venue, but in that same park, with the lake shimmering behind them and wildflowers adorning simple wooden benches Michael had crafted himself. Emma wore a dress she found at a vintage shop, and Lily served as both flower girl and best daughter, as she insisted on being called. During the reception, Emma's former boss approached her, champagne glass in hand. I still can't believe you turned down that corporate position to start your own financial counseling service for low-income families. Emma smiled, watching as Michael twirled Lily on the dance floor. Some treasures can't be measured in a paycheck, she replied. Later that night, as they swayed together under string lights, Michael whispered in her ear, remember when you couldn't afford that date? Emma laughed softly. How could I forget? I was mortified. I knew that night I'd found someone special, he said. Someone real in a world of pretending. She rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. Who would have thought that admitting I was broke would lead to being so rich in all the ways that matter? As the years passed, their story became something of a legend among friends and family, how a moment of vulnerability in an expensive restaurant had led to a life built on honesty, understanding, and love that didn't depend on price tags. On their 10th anniversary, they returned to that same park bench, now weathered by time but still offering the same perfect view of the sunset. Lily, now a thoughtful teenager, had insisted on babysitting her younger brother for the evening so they could have time alone. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I just pretended I could afford that restaurant? Emma asked, her head resting on Michael's shoulder. He was quiet for a moment, his arm tightening around her. I think we might have had a nice meal and a pleasant conversation. Maybe a second date, maybe not. But we wouldn't have seen each other, really seen each other, the way we did that night. Emma nodded, watching as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in the same brilliant colors they'd witnessed years before. It's strange to think that the moment I was most afraid of being judged was the moment that changed everything. Michael turned to face her, the lines around his eyes deeper now but still crinkling with the same warmth that had drawn her to him from the beginning. That's the thing about life's turning points, they rarely announce themselves. They just arrive, disguised as ordinary moments, embarrassing confessions, or in our case, a whispered admission and a park bench dinner. Emma finished, leaning in to kiss him softly. As darkness fell and stars appeared overhead, they made their way home to their children, to the life they'd built together, a life richer and more fulfilling than either could have imagined on that first night when Emma had whispered those words across a table, I'm sorry, I can't afford this date. Their story spread beyond their circle, becoming an anecdote Michael shared when counseling young men at the community center, and a foundation of the financial empowerment workshops Emma ran for women in transition. It reminded people that vulnerability, though frightening, often opens doors to connections that material wealth never could. And it all began with those simple, difficult words and the compassionate response that followed, a small moment of human connection that rippled outward, touching countless lives with its message that true worth isn't found on a menu or a price tag, but in the courage to be authentic and the kindness to receive that authenticity with grace. If this story touched your heart, remember that small acts of understanding can change someone's life forever. Like and subscribe for more stories that remind us what truly matters in this world. Sometimes the most beautiful beginnings start with the words we're most afraid to say.